Oh, right. Yeah, right. I'm Sonic the Hedgehog, and I'm bringing you to episode 6
That's
of
copyrighted.
Libracadeum Lounge.
You
Shut
can't be
up,
Sonic the
Phil.
Hedgehog. It's
I can be
episode 6 now.
Woo! Do fast, go fast. Remember, kids, stay in school and vote. Hello. On this episode, we're still not through the ballot entries. We have one more lad that we get to talk to today, and today's lad is Norkix.
Hi.
Say hello, Norkix.
Hi, I'm Norkix, I guess.
Yeah, you guessed. Does that mean you don't know if you're Norkix?
I think he means Norkix, I guessed.
Sure, let's go with that.
You guessed that you are the
No,
Norkle.
like he's a guest.
I meant it more that I'm kind of stuck with the name Norkix forever.
That's not true. You can change it. Lee changed his like last week.
Yeah.
It wasn't last week. It was like months ago.
Yeah.
Okay, anyway. That actually leads directly into my first question, Norkix. Why do you have the username Norkix?
Okay, this is a really, really fascinating story, and by that I mean it's really boring. I was 12, and my friend in school was like, hey, I've been playing this really great game online called RuneScape. And I said, oh, that sounds really fun. Can I play with you? And he was like, yeah, you just need to make an account. So I went home that night and asked my parents if I could go on the computer. And I went to www.runescape.com. And it said, you need to make an account. So I was like, okay, well, this is a fantasy game, so I want a fantasy name for my fantasy game. So I just tried a whole bunch of different cool sounding names, and Norkix was the first one that said it was available. And I just kind of ended up using it everywhere, and now I'm stuck with it.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like how I've never changed mine ever.
Yeah, but at least Techni is like, that's not embarrassing.
Norkix is not embarrassing. That is a fine and suitable name.
I think the fact that it has orc in it is kind of interesting because you wanted a fantasy name, and sure enough, it has orc in it.
Oh,
Well,
yeah, and you played Necrid.
It's
Yeah,
in Soul Calibur.
Oh.
Lots of Necrid.
I don't know
Yes.
anything about Soul Calibur other than that Soul Calibur 6 is interesting, and Link was in Soul Calibur 2. Those are like the two things I know.
Yeah, Link and Necrid were my two characters, and they were never in any other Soul Calibur games ever again. But that's fine, because 2 is the only one that I really played.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. The setup's coming apart. Unfortunately, my beautiful, beautiful recording booth is trying to kill me, so let's move on before it tries to smother me. Let's see. How do we know each other, Norkix? What is this fun tale?
If I remember correctly, we had a mutual friend during the days of Smash 4.
Yes.
Whose screen name keeps changing, and I no longer know what it is. But he's kind of irrelevant to this story because we don't talk to him anymore. And so one day he was like, okay, hey, do you want to do Smash 4 3DS online with me and a friend? And I was like, yeah, sure. And then bingo bango, here comes this guy Techni.
Who did I even play as back then?
What?
Shulk? Rob?
Who did I play as? Was I playing Ganon
You
back
were
then
Rob.
too?
Yeah, you're
Oh,
playing
man.
Rob.
Yeah, and so I don't remember exactly when we kind of hit it off, but I imagine it was sometime around the time we told each other real names, and I was like, I'm William, and you were like, I'm also William, and I was like, and
Well, that sounds like that's exactly how it went, and that's the sad thing.
yeah,
Or the best part.
I mean, this is obviously very memeified, but
which is like
yeah,
mummifying, but with me.
we met through Smash, and then we just kind of started. That was back when we were using Skype and not Discord. So this was like
The dark time.
2014 or 2015, because we were friends when I was still in high school, or at least we were like buds, even if we hadn't graduated to like full time friends yet. Not full time, but like full on. I don't know.
but
Full
we were
frontal.
semi-acquaintances.
Full frontal friends.
Full-time. You're hired full-time as a friend.
If you are a full frontal friend with anyone, you might want to reconsider that relationship.
Indeed. Congratulations, you passed the interview. Now, please end the relationship, because that is weird.
Yeah. But yeah, basically we met through Smash, and then we just kind of started chilling out and playing different video games together, and now we're here just kind of talking.
What are you losing your shit over, William? I just hear you quietly laughing.
I'm sorry. I am so sorry. It's because Skyke's trying to get into the recording.
It's Dog RNG.
Oh, Dog RNG is coming into the podcast. This is stupid.
Based
Down.
Get down.
Oh my god. I tried to get Adam to point at me. I'm like, please, for the love of God, get her down. But she just like trying to pry her way in. Okay, well, all right. Yeah, we met in TLDR, like Norkix said, we met in Smash 4 days, and we just kind of kept punching each other. And
That's William's way of. That's what he means when he says that he like plays a competitive game with a person. He's like, I punch with that person. We punch each other. That's his colloquialism. Which I've always found entertaining. Like whenever he wants to play Smash with me, he's like, hey, you want to punch each other?
yeah, because it's funny. That's pretty much what it turns into.
Yeah. Wait, what?
See, I just like message him with the word smash, but I change a vowel.
Like smosh or
Like
smish?
smosh or smoosh or smarsh.
Squash.
Hi, Squash. Well, hi.
Hi, Squash.
Want to play Smams?
Smams. You want to play some Moses?
You want to play some Smarmy?
Some Smarmy? Hey, who wants to be a Smarty?
Oh, I love Smarties. It's my Smarties Ultimate is my favorite in the series.
Smargle.
Smarties.
Who wants to play some Smurgle?
I mean, at that point, that's just Inkling, right? I'm
I was
thinking of
gonna say
Smeargle.
I was going to say Pokemon. Yeah.
Well then, does anyone want to throw some questions in the fire?
I don't have any. My woods. I left it at home.
You didn't
Let's
bring your
see.
freeloading today. It's okay.
I'm a bad man.
So I have a pretty superficial one. If you want me to start, it's really
It's not superficial. Come on, man.
it's pretty superficial. I think it's a bad question. Who is your celebrity crush?
Oh, that's actually a good question.
That is
Yeah,
a good question.
because we don't touch pop culture very much because we're nerds. So like when somebody's like, oh, so what's your favorite, like hit song on the radio or something like that? That is like left field for us. Like we never discuss that kind of stuff, Celebrity. I don't know. I'm not really attracted to celebrities. Is no an answer?
You don't find
I'll
any.
think of one.
You don't
I'll think of
find
one.
any celebrities at all, just like even physically attractive. Like not like you're in love with them, but you're like
Like on a scale of
they're pretty.
on a scale of I'd date them to I'd have sex with them, like I would have anything from a sensual to a sexual relationship. I don't know. Modern celebrities feel kind of fake, so it's kind of hard for me to be attracted to them. But I swear there was a girl that I was attracted to.
Okay,
I just don't know who it was.
let me change the question then for you specifically, Phil. Are there any actors where you will automatically consider or will go see a movie because they are in the movie?
Oh, that's a fun one. There's some fun movies that you could see because of that.
Actually, yeah, there's 3 actors that come to mind, but they're all guys.
Hey, that's okay.
That's okay.
And they are Jim Caviezel and Michael Emerson and Rami Malek. Jim Caviezel and Michael Emerson were both in Person of Interest. And Michael Emerson, most people probably know him from Lost. And then Rami Malek it's kind of a new thing, actually. Kind of a new star. But Mr. Robot is probably his best work. So probably those 3 actors. I used to really like Will Smith. He used to be my password to my security question to like,
Will
who is your
Smith.
favorite celebrity or actor or whatever. I really like a lot of Will Smith movies.
I think generally, like, a lot of the movies Will Smith made from like the mid 2000s to the mid 2010s were actually pretty underrated films. Like the one that always sticks out to me is Hancock, and the way it really, I love deconstructions of superhumans in modern society, and the way that Hancock did that, I think, while it was not the best movie in the world, the way that it looked at that concept was really interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of a hard topic to tackle, but there's actually a number of movies that have kind of done that in a really good fashion. And although we could probably talk at length about why deconstructions are so interesting and important in artistic mediums, because they're really good.
Madoka Bakuka!
Madoka Magica is a really good deconstruction of magical grandmother, for
Evangelion!
What is Evangelion even a deconstruction of? Mech anime?
It's a
Mech
deconstruction
anime.
of mech anime and specifically child soldiers.
Oh.
But see, I was thinking of like specifically pertaining to superheroes. I was thinking of like The Incredibles and
Yeah, The
Hancock
Incredibles is the first thing that comes to mind for me. Like,
yeah,
in that subject.
it's the one that probably did it the best. There's that motorcycle I was talking about.
Rev, vroom, vroom.
I don't know. Actually, I don't know if that'll show up once I do noise cancellation, but
I heard it.
yeah. Yeah, my quote unquote recording setup isn't that great.
Wait, William, do you have a celebrity crush?
Oh, me?
Techne. Does Techne have a celebrity crush?
Woo! We got it! We did the joke!
Unintentional, I guess.
I like a lot of girls that are blonde. So a lot of celebrities are very easy for me.
Jennifer Lawrence!
Don't. Hey, William, don't say that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, so I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. The only like celebrity I want to look into is Britney Spears. And that's basically it. For the second dial-up question, though, I kind of want to see a bunch of Keanu Reeves movies just because he's been like trending as of late of 2019. So I'm a little curious about what's going on with him. And I also want to see some more Michael Cera films to see what he's done.
Keanu Reeves
Well, I
is
think
a
basically
cult
what
favorite,
happened
I
with
think.
I think basically what happened with Keanu Reeves is that the John Wick movies kind of really took off and became popular culture. And
Yeah,
that's
but he
what
was
really-
also in a Ronin film. I know that.
I think the important thing to note here, though, is that like he has I don't know if you'd call it a cult following, or if you would just say that he like broke through the mainstream media, like he made a breakthrough of some sort. But like everyone knows Keanu Reeves now. Before it was like, oh, Keanu Reeves, most people know him, but now he's everywhere. For better or for worse.
So those are my ideas.
What about you,
Oh,
Norkix?
wait.
I should probably go
wait.
since this is my question.
Wait. Actually, I completely forgot about voice actors and actresses.
I actually I didn't want to talk about that just because
Erica Lineback. Put it out right. Put that shit on the table.
at that point I'd be like, these are my favorite vocalists in music. Like you
I-
could stretch
I
this pretty
literally-
damn far. So I just want to stop at actors.
You could do like they're The question was celebrities, right?
Yeah, there's musical
Yeah.
celebrities. So, but
And-
I'm
and
not going
there's-
to go that far. That's silly.
So I'm gonna put Erica Lineback on the table. She is amazing. Okay, sorry. I had to cut you off because I thought of it. I'm like, okay, no, my true answer though.
Okay. So for me, I'd probably have to say, in terms of like crush and like I'll go see a movie if they're in it. Number one has got to be Charlize Theron. I like a lot of like. There's a lot of bad movies that I find a lot of charm in, and so like I don't know if you guys ever saw the Aeon Flux movie, but she was in that, and I was like, oh my god, this woman. I was
You're
like,
like
I was
you're
like,
like
I was like
Mothman.
15 or 16, and I was like, that was, you know, most of my friends at that time were talking about Megan Fox and Transformers, and I was like, you know, she's all right, but did you guys see Eon Flux? They were like, yeah, that movie sucked, and I was like, okay, and went away. The other one I'd have to say is probably Elle Fanning, which is also kind of weird, because it's kind of like it's a crush I grew up with because she's like the same age as me. So I like, I don't know. This is weird to talk about now that I'm saying it, but because she was like a child actor, and then, you know, she got when she was like 16 or 17, she got Super 8, and then I was, like I said, it's the same age range as I am. And then, you know, now she's doing like CoverGirl commercials, and she comes on the TV, and I'm like, oh, that's Elle Fanning. Oh, she's really cute. But I wouldn't say that I'd go and see a movie just because she's in it, because admittedly, I don't think she's that great of an actress. She's just kind of really cute, but whatever. Also, I feel like people don't talk enough about Joseph Gordon-Levitt, because he is like super hot and is a great actor. All right, that's me. I'm done.
Okay. Philip, do you got a question today?
Wait, did you just talk about how Gordon-Levitt, like, he's a good actor, but did you just proclaim that he's hot?
I did proclaim that he's hot.
Yeah, why
Dude,
not?
no one's that straight. Come on.
No.
Yeah, why not? Come on, let him declare it.
I can disagree if he can proclaim. I can also proclaim. Fuck you, it's January.
No, it's not.
Yeah, but there was
It's
a
like
storm cloud last night. Did you say it's October?
It's October.
No, it's October.
It's
the
snowing
skeleton
right
war is
now.
upon us.
It's snow. I'm looking out the window of my house. It's snowing. It's obviously July.
Hey, actually, I have a good question based on that. So, I was walking my dog, and I noticed that there was... Okay, this is kind of an obscure question, but I want to ask it anyway because I feel like it deserves some merit. So, I was walking my dog, and I noticed there was a bunch of white things on the ground. And the first, like, everywhere in my neighborhood. And the first thing I thought of was, it stormed last night and it hailed, right? So I was like, is this all hail? Did it just not melt? You know? And then but then I kicked it up and realized it was leaves, but I didn't know where they came from until I walked to like the front of my neighborhood and realized it came from a bunch of white trees. Apparently it like blew all of the white leaves off the trees. And it was kind of weird because I just walked around, there was white leaves everywhere, like next to the sidewalk. So I guess my question is, do you ever see something? Are dogs cute? That's my question.
Yes, next question.
Dogs are cute, yes.
All
Okay.
dogs.
Do you guys
are
ever
precious.
see a repeating pattern and I mean visually? Do you ever see like it? This is called the Tetris effect, and it's where if you play Tetris long enough, you start seeing Tetris pieces. You start seeing pieces stack up, stuff like that. People can like start dreaming about squares and stuff like that. Does that ever happen to you? But with like other shapes, like maybe triangles. Maybe you dream of like the Nintendo Switch logo, or you see squares everywhere. I don't know.
I would say the closest that I've come to that is Rubik's Cubes became kind of a trendy thing in specifically my high school class in freshman year. And everyone was like walking around with Rubik's Cubes and saying, oh, this is how you do it and stuff. And I kind of hopped on that little bandwagon.
I was kind of hoping that's disappointing because I hate Rubik's cubes. But all right.
Eventually, I was doing.
Shut up!
I was doing Rubik's cubes so much that I'd like close my eyes and be able to visualize the algorithms a little bit. And I was like, I don't know. That's just the closest I've come to that specific kind of phenomenon.
I want to interject because I hate to break it to you, but that's actually a skill. Being able to visually recognize that's a spatial reasoning skill.
Yeah, well, I can't do it anymore. I don't remember any of the algorithms. I can probably solve one side and 2/3 of the other 4 sides. But once you get to that point, I don't really know what I'm doing anymore.
It's hard. Understandable. Well, how about you, William?
Have a nice day.
I now there's a video game called The Witness, and I played this with William, and it's very important to me. And so I this happened with me with The Witness, and I've kind of pointed it out to William. Basically, in The Witness, there's all these there's these puzzles based on a simple concept, which is a maze. But The Witness also has a different kind of puzzle, which is the dot and the line. There will be a single point, a circle. Usually, it's a perfect circle, and then there is a straight path branching out from the circle that ends somewhere. And I keep fucking seeing them everywhere. Because it's a very simple pattern, so it's pretty, easy for it to pop up. But I, more than anything, see that pattern a lot, and whenever I do, I'm always drawn to it and fascinated by it. So I don't know whether to thank nature or Jonathan Blow or my, mind for just being weird and recognizing that stuff. But I can never stop thinking about that. But William, I'm curious if you see that or if you see any other patterns, because I know that you have a very visual and artistic mind, and particularly when it comes to design. And you remember how, I believe in an earlier podcast, you talked about how we would walk home to your house and you talk about, how you would like design a video game and how you kind of imagined the electrical poles and trees and stuff to be like Jet Set Radio grind rails and walls. And I was just curious if you kind of saw any of that repeatedly throughout the world or what have you.
I did a lot. I still kind of do. But nowadays, when I do think of well, my new thing is that I see. Okay, so a long time ago, I came up with a character's superhero skill where he could teleport to wherever he had deja vu. Like, he can only teleport whenever he feels like he's been there before. So now whenever I keep track of whenever I feel deja vu, because that would be a warp point in a game or something. But the reason why it works so well is because America is built like a fucking grid, and a lot of the places look the same because of capitalism. Anyway, so one of my other things that I think of because of like video games, is when I would play like Roller Coaster Tycoon or Animal Crossing. Those games are like very grid based of how you could place things and where you could place them. So now, I don't know if that's subconsciously how I started thinking about it, but whenever I start traveling, I think of north, south, east, west, grid-like. So, like, okay, we have to move up on the grid, so we have to move north. So, that's how I can easily be like, okay, I know where these roads are placed on the grid. So, in theory, if we go south here, we should just smash right into the other road.
I mean, that usually doesn't work like that.
Although that that's kind of how maps work. That is actually how you used to have to read maps and like basically do that.
Yeah, so that's how I was able to BS my way through roads and stuff. So that's my I see things in the world because of what media has taught me.
Fair enough. Do either of you gentlemen have a... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I don't know that I really recognize patterns in nature as far as like physical things, but I do feel like sometimes, like, you know how animals can kind of will quote unquote predict the weather because of like their senses are more attuned than ours. I can kind of like feel not really a sixth sense, but I feel like I can tell when it's going to rain tomorrow without needing to watch the news or whatever. Just because of like how the air feels or something like that. I don't know. It's difficult to describe. That was a big sigh.
Sorry, that was Adam.
Oh, okay. All right.
We're trying with the setup.
That's a big skeptical sigh I just heard.
We're trying with the setup, ladies and gentlemen. It's hard.
William's brother, everyone. He's a salty being. Don't worry about him.
We're being very broke. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So that's about all that I really recognize as a pattern in nature. Is like after a really really nice day, like by how the air feels at sunset, I can usually tell whether it's going to rain tomorrow or like something like that. Maybe I'm just good at guessing or something, but
you're able to walk.
Well, whether or not you can predict that stuff, that's pretty cool.
Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Which directly segues into my next question. This is a perfect question to segue to another question. Where do bees come from?
Where do bees come from?
By all known laws of aviation, the bee should be unable to fly.
Do not do it.
All right.
Do not do it.
You should. Hey, you want to stretch the time limit to like 2 hours by reciting the whole movie?
Let's not. Can you even get copyright flagged for posting the bee movie anymore?
I don't know.
Do you think the mods just gave up?
I don't know. I mean, if you just start saying it like right now, I don't know if they can copyright it because you're just reciting the script.
No, probably not.
Well, let's think about this because one of the interesting things that I think about when I think of the history of insects is how 100 million or so years ago, all the insects were huge. Like, I don't want to say person-sized, but like probably maybe the size of a decent-sized dog or like a bird. Yeah. The insects were all like really big, and now they're very small. And so I haven't done the research on why that happened, but am I getting too technical on this?
Well,
no.
I don't know.
He's Techni and you're Cole. Thank you, everybody. I'll be here all week.
Yay!
I don't get it.
I clap.
Go on, Norkix.
I thought you were gonna continue. Yeah, continue. What are we?
No, no. He ruined my train of thought. Now I don't know what I was saying.
You were talking about giant insects.
I know I was talking about giant insects, but I don't know where I was going to.
You were talking about how they were giant a long time ago, but you don't know why because you didn't do the research on it.
Yeah.
Well,
so where do bees come from?
Philip, where do bees come from, Philip?
Yeah, Philip, you take over because I'm just going to talk myself into a corner.
Don't they come from hives and from queens?
Yeah, but where did those come from?
They come from other bees.
I mean, this just eventually comes down to the old philosophical question of which came first, the chicken or the egg.
Hey, I'm Phil, and you're sophical.
Hey, hold on. I don't think bees came from chickens.
No,
Do you think
they didn't.
Bees hatched out of an egg? That's a weird. That's a weird
the egg
fucking
just
chicken
cracks,
jump.
and then like a whole hive of bees just.
I would have burned the whole earth to the ground if I was the first settler in that area.
You're like, oh boy, I can't wait to have some fucking like yolks for breakfast, and then. Oh,
what if you just take a bite out of your yolk and there's a stinger that just stabs your tongue, and you're like, oh,
oh. Why is that figure in there? This is why?
I think that the origin of bees was first actually raised by Shakespeare, if I remember correctly. He asked to be or not to be. That is the question in a very famous monologue.
My God,
In
No, that wasn't the origin of bees. That's asking how many bees he wanted. You're getting it wrong.
No, I said that's
idiot.
the origin. That's the origin of wondering how many bees there are.
That was more of wondering, should I cosplay as a bee or should I not cosplay as a bee?
Hamlet was holding up the bee cosplay helmet as he was thinking about this.
This is a good point. It's often misinterpreted as a skull due to our edgy counterculture, but realistically,
Yes.
it was definitely
that was
helmet.
That was actually a popular theory in the 2000s, the early 2000s, when we were making Resident Evil and Shadow the Hedgehog with guns. Little did they know, Shadow the Hedgehog would later cosplay as a bee as reference to Hamlet.
Alas, poor Barry B. Benson. I knew him, Yorick.
But what about
and
are we just going to gloss over Charmy?
I mean, Charming was in that game, yeah, but he's not a direct reference to Hamlet. He's instead a reference to Cheerios.
Yeah, but I guess my question is, do you
Charmy's a
think
dude?
Shadow cosplayed as Charmy, who is referenced to bees, which would be like very meta? But
Wait a
it's
second.
very possible.
Wait, hang on. Charmy is a dude?
I actually have a confession. My celebrity crush is Charmy the bee.
And I have a confession. Charmy is coming out as transgender, and now Charmy is a they.
Hey,
Do you think Charmy calls his significant other honey?
See, now we're getting into the real deep questions.
God. Maybe you shouldn't have been a guest, Norkix. I feel like you bring out the worst of us.
This is literally the exact way I wanted all the podcast episodes to go, but no, we don't want stupid bullshit.
No,
on
I
your
want stupid
podcast.
bullshit. I just want there to be some formality. And to be fair, there's been both in this episode, so I'm satisfied. There could be fart noises for the next hour of this episode, and I'd be satisfied.
I'm pretty satisfied for that one joke, but I want more.
I can't do the armpit thing, so I can't really answer that. Sorry.
Okay. Perfectly timed. Okay.
Somebody
Philip,
open up a fucking window. Yes?
so it's my turn to say where bees come from.
Okay.
So I think, you know how there's storks? Maybe there's just another bee that comes down and delivers more bees before he goes back up in the clouds.
So wait, do you think the stork brought the first bee?
Oh no.
Do you think
it
it
was
was
first the stork or the bee?
But who brought the first stork?
Oh no. Oh god. What came first, the egg or the stork?
Well, the question we have to answer, that we have to ask at this point is Santa Claus real?
What came first, the stork or Santa Claus?
Because I think...
Or the bee?
Do you think storks live at the North Pole?
Do the storks deliver the presents then? Or is it the bees? Or Santa?
The elves do. I'm just saying the storks... Santa
Wait,
Claus,
that's
the Tooth
where
Fairy,
honey
the Easter
comes
Bunny.
from.
Maybe the
honey-
storks and the bees exchange gifts with each other.
But so what does the storks give? Do they just give babies to the bees and then the bees just give honey back to the stork?
The bees just give honey.
Maybe the bees are like babies. They're like small storks and they deliver baby insects.
What I was earlier I was like, what if the bees are in cahoots with Santa Claus and the honey is just the sweet nectar that gets delivered to us instead of Christmas hours?
What?
I'm lost.
Cut that. Put that in the edit. Oh gosh, shut up, phone.
Hey, it's 7:30. If you'd like
It's
William to turn off
7:30.
his phone alarm that he's had for like literally a year, please subscribe to his Patreon. That way he can have more attention devoted to him. He can worry less and he can alarm less. This has been Philip's daily announcement of my friend William and, supporting him. Back to the question.
Well, good question. Good job. Good conversation, guys.
All
I
right.
didn't even get to fucking answer.
That's funny.
All right, who wants to go next?
I guess I'll go. Yeah.
And then I'll go after you.
Yeah, that's how friendship works.
Is there an album that changed how you perceive and or appreciate music?
Daft Punk Discovery. Was that yours?
But no.
Oh, okay. Well, go ahead.
It's more like, isn't there an album that has changed how I appreciate music?
Oh yeah, Deltron 3032 as well.
Oh, that's a freaking good one.
That's a good one.
So for me, my kind of journey with music was that my best friend in elementary school got me into Linkin Park at a very young age, and Linkin Park was basically the only thing that I listened to that wasn't the radio from the age of, like 8 to probably 12 or 13, which is a long time to only listen to Linkin Park. But that's the story. So then eventually I got tired of Linkin Park's. They're kind of one note, as good as the composition of the music might or might not be. Lyrically, they're very samey. It's all very angsty music and angry, and they say a lot of the same stuff. So then I found out about a band called Chevelle, which sort of opened me up to more.
That's Adam.
What's the word I'm thinking of here?
Genres?
They talked
genres?
Yeah, genres. I mean, it was still the same genre. They were still like an alternative rock / metal, kind of walking the line there band, but lyrically it was much more diverse, and the imagery was a lot more abstract, which is still something that I love about Chevelle to this day. And from there, I kind of branched out into Tool and stuff like that. But the album that really changed how I appreciated music was when I found out about an artist called Stemmage. And Techni's probably heard me talk about Stemmage to no end before.
Yay!
But I don't remember whether it was Stratty or 0 over 0. But I think it was 0 over 0 that really changed, because basically that album was a bunch of 1 to 2 minute songs where he just took an idea and riffed on it for a little bit and then moved on, and each of the songs flows seamlessly into the next. And the concept that he wanted to do was he wanted to make an instrumental guitar album, but instead of doing it focusing on lead guitar, he wanted to focus on rhythm guitar. And that was a really unique take between just like riffing on an idea for a minute and then moving on and trying to make a rhythm guitar album. That really changed how I looked at music in terms of motifs and composition and exploring an idea. So I would say that the album that really changed how I look at and appreciate music is Stemmage's 0 over 0. Stemmage is a fantastic independent artist. Please support him and also support Techni, because this is a Techni show.
Yay!
It's the Techni show.
It's the Techni show.
It's the Mothman. Why? Whose idea was this?
Me's.
It was the bees. The bees did it.
The bees.
Get him!
See, I just want to point out real quick, Sting and the Police. I rest my case.
Yes. I pretty much just said Daft Punk because I'm like,
no,
this is
that's
what
not my
music
artist.
is.
I'm just saying, like, bees. Sting.
Oh.
Da. Apparently, Sting got his nickname because he used to wear, like, a striped yellow jacket before he joined the band or something like that. But William, you should really talk about your fucking thing.
I like Daft Punk. I've had like a few booms of music that became my all-time favorites for like just years on end. Daft Punk was one, still probably is, because I still kind of just listens to like the repercussions and the echoes of what their generation has pretty much led, and all the remixes that the newer generations also mix. So that, That was like my big boom of like this. I like this music. I want more of it. And so I looked out for more of it. And then Deltron 33 did it made me appreciate rap, like how creative it can be and how enjoyable and fun it can be. Because when you're like when you're born within the Bible Belt, you shift around a few times. You don't have that much interaction with much other races besides being like white, and it's hard to get all the diversity in where you live. It's hard to appreciate rap because everyone around you is palindroning the same thing over and over of we don't like rapper country in these parts. So it was really fun to actually get some perspective on there from like a very fun and like colorful ride and like a very adept and detailed description of the future. It was really cool. And usually like things media that describes the future is usually about like the hidden meaning of it is that this could be today. Ooh. But but it was still fun nonetheless, even if the subject matter was a little different. I could come up with a billion other favorite albums. Like I could say I love Comp because it was blended well, or I love Gojira's like From Mars to Cyrus album because that was my introduction to metal. But those are some albums. Before I keep going on, Philip, what would you like to talk about? Which I want to hear what's your favorites.
Okay, well,
what were the good ones?
Well,
it's
not what your favorite album is. It's just an album that changed how you perceive.
Yeah, and I actually
brought you a new appreciation for music.
I have one album that did do that basically paved the way for my entire music listening experience from that point onward, and that was The Wall by Pink Floyd. And I'm not gonna say that it's like the best Pink Floyd album or the best album ever made, or that everybody should listen to it or whatever. I personally really like it, and I personally tie it to my own life in certain regards because of like just when I listen to it and like certain things that I discovered it in a certain time period where there were some certain things going on with my life. So when I listen to it, I like associate the album with those things, and it makes me happy, but also bittersweet and sad at the same time, So like I like it in a personal way in that regard. But it was the first a lot of things. It was the first progressive rock album I listened to. It was the first art rock album I listened to. It was the first concept album I listened to. And it was also the first. There was a lot of ambience to it. There was story. It was complicated. It was long. It was a double album after all. Mm-hmm. It was old. It's an old album. It's from 1979. So I'm not really sure why I liked it so much or what I liked about it. So basically, when I listened to it for the first time, though, I went back to my house, registered an iTunes account, and I bought it on iTunes. And then anytime I was at school and I had a chance, or when I was at home sometimes even, when I wasn't busy playing Minecraft or whatever it was I was doing at the time, I would listen to the album and I would just kind of get lost in it, Sometimes I'd understand the lyrics and sometimes I wouldn't because, I didn't read a lyric sheet or anything. I didn't really know what they were saying all the time. I just thought it sounded cool. And actually, about halfway through the album, I got lost in terms of like, what the hell is going on? Why is everybody shouting? So I didn't really understand what it was about. But the way the music sounded, the fact that it was an old album that originally was on a vinyl record, the fact that it was paced a certain way, the way that the songs segued into each other as if, these series of songs were one track. There's a lot of aspects to that album that I basically looked for in every album I bought since. And for that reason, I think that's why I really liked Pink Floyd, was because, they made music like that. That, The Wall was just one of their many albums where they would make songs that segued into each other, overreaching concepts that had this like timeless, sample-based, very unique style to it. And to be honest, I hold Pink Floyd in a very high regard, and they will probably be my favorite band for a very long time just because of the way they introduced me to that kind of music, the music that I love. Since then, I have discovered many different other genres and subgenres, and I do continue to try to branch out and listen to more artists, but my love for Pink Floyd and progressive rock, I kind of owe it all to The Wall in high school.
Well said.
Thank you.
I also I think Pink Floyd's The Wall is a really great choice for something like that, because it is kind of a difficult album to approach, because it's so different and unique from what's produced nowadays. Like you said, with all the ambience, and it's so. For example, I first heard the song "Comfortably Numb" out of context, and I didn't think it was
as you do.
I didn't think it was very good out of context, because I didn't understand what was happening.
Neither does the character, to be honest.
The solos were pretty cool, but that was about it. I didn't understand what all the big hype was. But when you listen to it on the album as a whole, it serves as a sort of calm before the storm song. And, you know, once you understand that it's two characters talking to each other and you have that context, it's actually become one of my favorite songs on the album.
That's really cool.
And same with Techni's pick for Deltron, although I'd more of a Gorillaz thing. I never really appreciated hip hop or rap either until I heard I don't want to say specifically Clint Eastwood, but just like the first Gorillaz album in general, because it was produced. It was a hip hop album produced like an indie rock album, which kind of gave me an in. It was approachable for me, and then that led me to kind of check out other hip hop. I still don't like, you know, the stuff that's about slapping women's asses and going to the club and you know, catch me riding dirty and all that shit.
I refer to those as gangster lyrics.
Yeah. But stuff like, it's opened me up to sort of create more creative hip hop and rap, and like kind of Eminem, but not all of it.
Can we just say how much we love 90s hip hop?
Yes.
Like, vocally
Outkast.
agree. Oh, Outkast, yeah. I really don't ever.
I want to interject real quick and touch on
Sorry,
something.
Miss Jackson.
Ooh, ooh.
Sorry,
Mr.
go ahead, Phil.
Bobolina, Mr. Bob Dobalina.
I swear to God, I'm stuck in the sample hell. Can't get out.
Oh, everybody, let Philip speak.
So that thing you said about Comfortably Numb is another thing that Pink Floyd and that, you know, many albums afterward would teach me, or, you know, The Wall, whatever, many albums after it would teach me. Context. So I had heard Pink Floyd songs on the radio before, and I didn't even know it was Pink Floyd. In fact, that happens to me with a lot of artists. I'll hear a song on the radio, I'll forget about it, and then I'll hear it on an album and be like, wow, this is way better in context. Comfortably Numb, for example, The Wall was something to behold when Pink Floyd performed it live, because for the first half of the show, when the Pink Floyd toured for The Wall, by the way, they did the entire album. They played it all from beginning to end. Mm-hmm. For the first half, they would slowly put giant, like, I don't even know what they were made out of, plastic maybe, fake bricks around the stage until at the very end of the album, you know, when Goodbye Cruel World is playing and the first half of the set would end and the band would go, you know, prepare for the second set, the wall would be complete and there would be a wall between them and the audience. They couldn't see the band anymore. Mm-hmm. And then when the second set started, you know, it was all about the isolation and alienation of the character in the or whatever. Comfortably Numb is really cool because for that solo, David Gilmour gets raised to the top of the wall and he plays a solo with the lights like illuminating him and shit. Like, it's so fucking cool. You don't see that if you just hear it on the radio. And honestly, you don't hear it in the album either. But I guess the reason that I know that, and the reason that I point this out, is because older music pointed something out, which is context. It's something that I appreciate in music, and it's why I stress over a lot of things, like when an album was released, and what the band members were like, who played what on an album, what the album cover was like, whether it was released on vinyl first or CD or whatever. All this random stuff I care about and I need to know because context. And I feel like a lot of people, they don't care that much about music. They just, they know songs, they know artists, and that's about it. They don't really know too much about. They might know a little bit about the artist's personal life, but that's about as. They don't really care, about what the artist had to go through to record their songs or whatever. And that's still a prevalent thing today. But again, people don't really care about that kind of stuff, and it makes me sad. Not that they have to.
Oh.
It's just, it is what it is.
Also, I forgot to mention this earlier, but I had the epiphany of, oh crap, I love the Alan Parsons Project. And I probably never would have thought about the engineering side of music until probably now, or until I listened to a lot of Alan Parsons Project. So there's that.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
See, that's failure for me.
What do you mean?
Failure is a band that's they kind of self-produce, and they're all about like sonic texturing and
yeah.
They have a thing where like every single one of their albums has these breaks. They call them segues between certain songs, and it's all about like pacing the album correctly and really making each album a unique piece of art. And I really recommend, if anyone gets into Failure, that you listen to the entire albums instead of just specific songs, because every album is an experience from beginning to end.
And as an old music fanatic, I also have to support that claim indefinitely.
And as an artist, I say support the artists.
Pay full price for that album, damn
it. Get your prune juice. Okay, gamers. Philip, what's your next question?
Okay. I was asked this question by my sister a few years ago, I believe. We went down to a Bonnie and Clyde's or something like that, some restaurant to eat. And at some point, out of nowhere, she asked me, what is your favorite musician? And, I was about to, she heard like a P come out of my mouth because I was going to say my favorite band. She said, no, I want to know what your favorite musician is. And I asked her, what do you mean? I like groups of musicians usually. I like bands. She's like, yeah, but gun to your head, if you could narrow it down to one musician, who do you think would be your favorite, or at least the one that you would appreciate the most, and why?
I think we've done this one already, but I'm not. I'll let Norkix go ahead and answer that, since it'd be unique to him.
One musician? Are you sure?
I think we've done
one
it.
Single person? I don't know that we have.
Or maybe we've done it like you've asked me this IRL.
I think I might have asked you this IRL, but I wanted to bring it on the podcast because it's a pretty interesting point of contention.
Well, at the risk of sounding redundant, I do have to probably go with Stemage, because he's one guy, records all of the instruments, and if he does vocals, he records the vocals himself. He self-produces, mixes his own stuff, and puts it out there himself on like Bandcamp and whatever. And that's something that I really respect as a multi-instrumentalist myself. And he has he's influenced by a lot of 90s bands, but he's managed to make his own sound very distinct from that as well. So all of that stuff I really respect. Plus, he's just a freaking dang good guitarist. So, and all of his stuff is really creative, and it was some of the first music that really spoke to me and was like, this is the kind of music that I'd like to be able to make if I was talented enough.
Fair enough. Heck yeah, Stemage. Let's go. I didn't know he was one guy. That's pretty cool. What about you, Wilster? What?
I don't really have a good answer for this one because
Yeah.
I like a lot of people.
I know it's a hard question.
It usually, it usually depends of what type of era. I have a lot of like contextual favorites for music. Like, I like a lot of hip hop. I like a lot of video game soundtracks. I like a lot of prog rock. I like a lot of like house and French house and disco, all that stuff. So it's like it's hard for me to specifically pinpoint one specific people, but I could say a lot of them. Like I could say, oh, I like David Gilmour. He's pretty cool. I like Hideki Naganuma because he was one of the more influential characters that pretty much led me into sample-based culture. In fact, he led me into sample-based culture before I got into hip-hop, so I got to learn to more aggressive sampled songs. And there's like Jack Stober because he's quirky and unique and he's really goofy. I also like how David Bowie is very like out there. But it's hard for me to specifically pick like single ones because I can't do that. I love everyone.
Oh, gun to your head, pick one.
Gun to my head, I can't. I'll fucking die before I fucking pick that question.
I like that answer actually.
Just pick like one and
shoot your shot, my dude.
Just kind of justify it. Be like, he's a major, influence to me because of so and so reasons.
But I already did that. I already told you.
You gave a
like
basic
several different
rundown,
people.
but I don't know. Maybe you could go a little more in depth. I want
literally
resolution, damn it.
You want resolution? You go fucking listen to like you listen to Discovery, you listen to Homework, you listen to Random Access Memories, you listen to Human After All.
What if I'm a poor Ugandan child who just tuned into this podcast after coming out of my 15-year-old coma? I don't have any money or savings, and I don't really know who these artists are, but I want to know your opinion on them, huh?
A Ugandan child.
Can't you give me one guy? Can't you give me one king? I just kind of picked an area of the world.
I can't pick one king. I can pick several kings.
There's only one castle, William. Pick a king.
I straight up can't do it, Philip.
I'm not asking you to. Who's God, William? I'm asking you to talk about a cool guy.
But if I pick like, I already said
just say Damon Albarn.
I said Jack Stober in an earlier podcast episode, so that doesn't fucking count. I already mentioned Deltron, even though he was a collab in that album. Daft Punk is a collab. Kavinsky is cool, but he's not like on the levels of like favorite as. And I barely really could consider much like favorite artists beyond what I've already listed. Maybe Jake Hoffman, but at the same time, he's also not like beyond favorite. And I think a lot of people know about Hideki Naganuma nowadays because he's responsible for the Sonic Rush, Jet Set Radio Future, Jet Set Radio just regular, some of the Super Monkey Ball soundtracks. He's responsible for a lot of Sega soundtracks, and he's got a very unique style. But I don't really like love the dude that much anymore. Like I like his music a lot. Oh, actually, Funk Fiction. I think I've also mentioned Funk Fiction too, that I love him. See, I've already pretty much gone over the music question over and over. It's just like
we've been on music for a little while now because of me.
It's okay. I like music and I like talking about it. I was actually going to ask some music questions, but I declined to just because I didn't want a whole podcast to be about music.
That's why I literally absolutely refuse to answer this question because at this point, if it's gun to head, just shoot my arm or something.
All right, bang! Next question. Norkix, since you're the one alive, I guess we can't really. The show must go on. So.
All right.
Wait a second. Whose question was that? Oh, it was mine. Yeah. Okay. So Norkix, It's your turn.
All right.
That's mine because my hand got blown off.
You're dead. I don't care.
No, you already did.
No, we only shot him in
question.
the arm.
Shit. All right, William. Fine. Go ahead.
Okay. What was your favorite childhood show growing up?
Oh God, this is almost exactly what I was gonna ask. Just phrased differently.
Why did you do that?
Why'd you put your arm in front of your head? Why didn't you just take it like a man?
If the arm it would have just gone through my arm anyway, you gibbet. That's not how it works.
Gibbet.
Do you think Nintendo was like, yeah, let's make a really cool competitive game. We'll call it Heads. No. They made arms.
Okay.
But
Favorite show from my childhood?
Yeah.
So in my childhood, I didn't have cable. The only channels we had were PBS, ABC. Sometimes when I was like 6 to 10, we would get WB on the old rabbit ears, but usually not. So it was pretty much just. I'm sorry about all the cars. It was pretty much just PBS, ABC, and CBS. So I would come home from school and I would watch PBS Kids while I was doing my homework. So I have a lot of fond memories of shows like Cyber Chase and Zoom.
Word Girl.
Word Girl! Word Girl is my favorite, but that was more from like my teens. I mean, I guess teens counts as childhood, so I would probably say Word Girl. But like my favorite show that I would say had the biggest impact on me would be the first 4-ish seasons of Adventure Time, because I'm of the opinion that either Adventure Time or Avatar: The Last Airbender kind of kicked off a bit of a renaissance for children's cartoons and made them more
good
about
cartoons.
Being a good cartoon than about selling toys.
It's true.
Yeah.
So that's my answer. Would be a tie between Word Girl and Adventure Time, but specifically early Adventure Time.
Yeah,
I had a similar upbringing where we had PBS, and then we eventually got Cartoon Network and expanded stuff. In terms of stuff I would actually go back to watch around like my middle, junior high area before high school, I watched a lot of Futurama, surprisingly.
Ooh.
And before that, I had access to South Park, and I don't really see South Park in golden eyes in retrospect, but I do really like Futurama still. Futurama was really great.
Futurama was really great.
I don't really have anything I could go back to like when I was a young kid that I could like as an adult. Besides maybe, like I said, Futurama. I will say what did happen because of the Hot Wheels Highway 35 redub with the initial D music made me go watch Accelerators again. But that's basically the gist of like my answering my own question. Just like, oh, I like Futurama. Okay, Philip, what do you got for me?
Okay, William.
Oh yeah, actually, also, I'm sorry, I told you that, but I also want to include, I want to see what Bionicle's up to, just because of the lore. Sorry, go on.
So I feel personally attacked because I was going to ask, does Bionicle count as a show?
Yes.
Okay.
There are movies.
I own all the movies, by the way. Probably Bionicle, if that counts, because I had a ton of Bionicles. I have Bionicle books, comics, pictures of catalog posters, fucking so many Bionicle figures themselves. It's stupid. My kid, I'll never have to buy them toys as long as they like, putting things together. Yeah, all the movies and stuff. I basically lived and breathed Bionicle for a number of years. They were I loved everything about them. I dreamed about Bionicles. I, daydreamed and night dreamed, I should say. Whenever I could bring Bionicles into school, whether it be elementary, middle, or high school, for a project, for some sort of presentation or whatever, before I got into any other hobby, I took full advantage of it. I loved Bionicles. But if Bionicles didn't count, then I would probably say probably something like Cubics. Really liked that show.
Oh, Cubics!
Or, the Yu-Gi-Oh anime, maybe the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime, that was pretty good.
Oh yeah, I watched a lot of Pokemon.
I want to go watch. I didn't really get into Pokemon until later, unfortunately.
I gotta watch like Diamond and Pearl. I gotta rewatch that because apparently people think that's the best one.
Diamond and Pearl is supposed to be like one of the better ones.
And there was another cartoon I was trying to think of. I think it was Teen Titans. Teen Titans and Samurai Jack. Those are good. I like
Teen Titans. How could I believe?
I like Teen Titans and Samurai Jack a lot too. Samurai Jack, I feel, actually has an untouchable art style in terms of it being a simple cartoon that is technically safe for a child to watch, but is also like edgy and mystical enough. I feel like its style is untouchable. What?
Phil, I completely forgot to talk about Ed, Edd and Eddy. My dad was like, "Dude, I love watching Ed, Edd and Eddy." Like, that's one of the few shows where it pops to be like, "Where's Ed? Where's the Eds?"
I love Ed, Edd and Eddy too. That's great.
But see, honestly,
Adventure Time too is good.
Ed, Edd and Eddy, I that was one of those shows that I only saw like 5 or so minutes at a time of at a friend's house, and whenever I would watch it, it was kind of an assault for me because I was used to the PBS programming, which is very much slower paced and more designed to be very easy to digest, right? Unlike your Ren and Stimpies and your Ed and Eddies and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's pure chaos. It's pure amazing.
Chaos. And then, so I actually didn't think it was a very good show until I saw people talking about it very nostalgically and talking about all the things that it did so well. So it's something that I came to have an appreciation for, as kind of from kind of a voyeur's perspective, from the outside looking in. I still haven't actually watched any Ed, Edd and Eddy, but I've come to appreciate that it was an important show that was better than I thought it was.
Hey, so I have 3 things that I want to say real quick. Okay. So the first thing is I need to mention Reboot, or I'll be crucified by my family, because that is a good cartoon, and my house cares about Reboot a lot. That's actually a good show. Second thing, what's a voyeur? What does that word mean?
Well, it's very close to vor, so we got to be careful about that one.
I think it's like
I don't know. The way that most people would probably describe it is as if you were to how do I describe this? I guess maybe vicarious would be a better word. Because I think voyeur is supposed to be something sexual.
What does vicarious mean?
So I think voyeur is like you enjoy watching other people have sex, but you don't actually like having sex yourself, or something like that. Don't quote me on this. But vicarious is so if you're watching a let's play of a video game, you are experiencing the game vicariously through someone else's playthrough. Does that make sense?
Oh, I have heard the word used that way before. Okay, that makes sense.
So like the Tool song Vicarious is about how people like watching violence and drama on TV, but
they don't like to be violent and dramatic in real life, basically.
Right.
So, okay. I get it. That's cool. And the third thing...
Both of those are correct, by the way. I just looked them up.
So voyeurism is analogous to vicarious, or voyeurism is the sex thing?
Voyeurism is the sex thing, but it's also close to vor, so that's how you know.
Well, it also has voy in it, which is like the yo form of ver, which means to be in Spanish. So it's kind of a weird word, I think.
All right, what was that thing you mentioned before I cut you off?
The third thing is, I don't know, whose question are we on now?
I think it would be me.
All right, what's your question, Norkix?
All right, so my question is very similar to Techni's, but it is different. What's a show you watched that you didn't think you would enjoy, but did? And what about it changed your mind about the show? I feel like this might be specific to me. But
No. I can actually answer this question, but I want to hear William's question because he seems to...
No. I was just thinking, like, it would be a funny, dumb answer.
What?
MLP from, like, around high school.
That had the opposite effect on me because I was sort of peer pressured into watching it. So I went home, and not only did I not like it, but my sister kept freaking out, and she almost cried because she's like, "Why is my big brother watching My Little Pony? This is stupid." She like thought I was being weird.
MLP. Okay.
That was a boom. That was like a weird boom, and some of us are not proud of it.
I did not jump on the My Little Pony bandwagon, and I'm very proud of it.
You should be proud of it. Yeah.
I have zero interest. So, William, what were you going to say, actually?
Well, that's the first thing I could think of, but I just started laughing because I'm like, what if I just said that on live? And I'm like, I did, so now here we are. I guess most of it would just be like, yeah, those are for girls. So like Powerpuff Girls, but really Powerpuff Girls was made for literally everyone.
Yeah, Powerpuff Girls was made for everyone.
Yeah, that's true. Like Cubics. Robots are for everyone.
Oh my god, Phil.
Please. Sorry, couldn't resist.
Other ones I guess would be like games or like anime that I like that people probably don't like. I can't think of anything on the top of my head. I'll probably think of it while it comes on because that happened last time. So you guys go ahead and waddle on.
My answer is I have two answers actually, because most shows I watch I kind of enjoy, whether it be genuinely or guiltily or whatever. But the two shows that I felt conflicted about but ultimately liked that I didn't like at first were Panty and Stocking and Love, Death, and Robots.
Love, Death, and Robots!
Both of which for basically the same reason, which is on the surface, they're very immature, unnecessary, and even seem generic, Like Panty and Stocking just seems like this cheaply made cartoon that cashes in on fan service. But it actually has good writing. It does cash in on fan service, but I don't care because it's good fan service. And I don't know.
It's really funny.
It is really funny. It's really funny. And then, sorry, what? Go ahead.
Most of the English dub voice actors just carry it like really hard, especially like the priest who's like, "Yo, bitch ass hoes need to get to work."
If there is a non-English dub, I never want to hear it.
It's really good because because the Japanese sub has like the demon sisters like rolling their R's when they say rules, so they're like,
oh really?
They're very seductive when they say that, and that's the whole reason why you would watch the Japanese dub.
Fair enough. Well, I guess there's probably pros and cons for each dub. But yeah, that's a good one. And then the other one, which is obviously more recent, is Love, Death, and Robots, which my dad actually he didn't recommend this to me. I heard about it for the first time from him. He sometimes when my mom goes to work and my dad, kind of just has to be alone. He doesn't like that. He likes to spend time with my mom. So he's been watching Netflix stuff and stuff on Disney Plus or whatever lately. And he basically just watches stuff that he wouldn't watch with my mom. And sometimes he'll test the waters. So sometimes he occasionally watches stuff like anime or cartoons or whatever other random stuff he can find on Netflix, despite the fact that that's not a normal thing that he'd watch. Like he really liked the Death Note movie for some reason. I don't know why. I haven't seen it. And there are some anime that he's watched on there that he liked some episodes of or whatever. I don't remember which. But he said he really didn't understand or like Love, Death, and Robots. And he basically sort of he explained it to me kind of like in short, he basically said like, it kind of is just a representation of like everything people in modern society like, which is, there's a lot of sex and sex imagery in it. There's a lot of death, for better or for worse. And there's a lot of crass humor that isn't necessarily clever. And when I was watching it initially, I kind of understood what he was talking about. But the issue is that, how do I put this? I feel like the animation and, to an extent, the writing and performance of every episode of the show is like it just totally carries the show. Like it could actually be even worse. It could be more crude. It could be more tasteless. But holy shit, everybody needs to watch that show just to appreciate the animation and the detail. Like there's just so much multi-talented stuff going on, so many different styles done so well. You might not like what you see, but you'll like how you see it. You will. It's crazy. I've never felt this way about something before. That I could love it like objectively, but not subjectively, I guess. But I do like it subjectively. I don't know. It's just a fascinating show to me. The Norkix, what do you think?
Well, like Techni, I was originally going to say MLP just because, you know, it's the funny answer, but thinking about it a little bit more, I would probably have to say Gurren Lagann is...
What? I thought everyone likes that show.
Well,
Apparently not.
I don't really go in for mech anime. I've especially since like I had such a bad experience with Evangelion when I tried to watch it when I was like 14 and didn't understand what was happening. So I was very hesitant to do it for a while. Also, since it was so popular and I saw it everywhere, and it was kind of the thing where like the hipster thing where if it's really popular, you kind of automatically think that it's bad. But then I actually like gave it a shot, and it's actually become one of my favorite shows, and I can see why it was so popular. I really loved sort of for the same reason that I really liked the first couple seasons of MLP was because we watch there's a lot of shows that are made these days that are very gritty and have darker themes and stuff like that because that's kind of what sells and what is trendy today. And so Gurren Lagann, in contrast to that, is a very positive show. It kind of basically it's about the people draw their power from the joy of being human, basically. And that really spoke to me, and I really appreciated the positivity and the great animation and the colors and the art was all great. And you know, cliche as it is, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is still my favorite anime of all time, but
Same.
Gurren Lagann is friggin' up there, man. And it's a show that I think that I could go back to and enjoy many times.
That's definitely an answer I didn't expect, but that's cool to hear for sure. So I guess it's my question now, right? Yeah, much like Seymour, I know the drill.
Oh my god. Well, I'm not doing another episode.
Oh no! Please, God, what can I do to convince you? Should I listen to Dinosaur Jr.?
No.
I actually am considering it because after hearing your passion about music, usually when people are like, you know, hey, you should listen to this music, I'm like, and I look back at my 300 albums that I own but haven't listened to because I'm a crazy person, and I'm like, maybe one day. But when somebody's really passionate about music and like tells you why they like it and why they listen to things, I'm like, well, shit, now you have me interested. Like that. What is that picture of Morty from Rick and Morty when he's like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. Like that's exactly how I feel when somebody's like, this is why I listen to music, haha. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't know who, you know, King Gizzard's Lizard's Wizard is or whatever, but I'll listen to their album because that's a band. I'm not gonna lie to you, I was at a music store and I wasn't not gonna buy any music other than the music that I sought out to buy. And I was like, I accidentally asked, like it was just a slip of the tongue because this guy kept bothering me to make sure that I was all right and I could find everything. And I'm like, do you have any recommendations? And then he started telling me about his favorite band. And I was actually kind of interested in it, so I bought the album. And I still haven't listened to it.
Honestly, I probably would have tried an album called King Gizzard's Lizard's Wizards. Just for the name alone, to see what the hell was going on.
Let me pull out the album real quick. Yep, it's called Flying a Tonal Banana, and supposedly this is one of their more normal albums. So
but the
I have
band
no
is
idea.
Called King Gizzard's Lizard's Wizards?
That's their name. I know because they're next to King Crimson, and I like progressive rock. So every time I go to King Crimson, I just see this huge stack of King Gizzard's Lizard's Wizard. I'm getting really good at saying that now. And I think maybe one day. But, yeah. I feel, so I've only talked to a few people that have, like, convinced me to listen to their music. some people that wasn't even their intention. Ray J kept showing me music that I liked, and now or at least that he just wanted me to listen to because he's like, this is how I feel right now or whatever. And so now I have that music kind of ingrained in me somewhat. So I'm like, I should probably give Mr. Lightbright and what's the band that made Mr. Lightbright? The fuck is that called?
But I do have an answer to the question.
What question?
Do you remember back where you asked what shows we were hesitant of watching or whatever?
Yeah.
I now remember. Usually, sometimes whatever Schooling gives me is like a hit or miss when it comes to recommendations. But I'm so kicking myself because I put off watching Space Dandy for so long.
Oh my god, Space Dandy!
Wait, was that a Squilliam suggestion?
That was a Squilliam suggestion. So was Jack Stover too, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he found those first.
He has good
showed
taste.
me. He has pretty good taste. It's just I wasn't ready. Earth was not ready for what gods were coming down for. Anyway, go on. I just had to kick that in there because I just now remembered.
All right, what is the current question again?
The current question is the King Gizzard question.
I haven't asked a question yet.
Oh, okay.
My question, I forgot my question. William interrupted me, and now I forget.
Oh yeah, I remember. I threatened to never do an episode again, and you were like, "Oh no, I'll listen to Dinosaur Jr."
Yeah, okay.
That's how we got on that topic.
So, actually, my question was about podcasts, Norkix. So I have a quick question, then a follow-up question, and the follow-up question is the actual question. So, do you listen to podcasts in any capacity?
I'm gonna go with a hard no on that.
Okay, well, the follow-up question is not going to be what I wanted it to be.
The only quote-unquote podcast that I've listened to was the sort of radio drama thing that Markiplier did a few months back, which was actually really good. I don't remember exactly what it was called, though. But sorry, go ahead with your follow-up question.
Well, still, that's fair. Okay. Well, it was going to be about podcasts, but since that's a no-go, favorite anime girl, go.
Oh, geez, dude, are you really? This is going to be... We're an hour and 20 minutes in. This is going to be like the last question. This is a terrible last question.
No, it won't be the last question. I'm sure we have some more.
Yeah, we have some more questions. Today's conversation's running through pretty well. I have to pick
one, huh?
You don't have to pick one, but, if you can. Favorite anime girls? Alternate question.
Can I answer this one?
Oh, favorite anime character?
No, girls.
Well, did you change it to girls, or was it originally...
It was originally girls.
Okay.
It was originally girl.
I would have to say it's a pretty hard tie between... I mean, you guys saw my tier list. It's a pretty hard tie between Riza Hawkeye and Marie Mjolnir.
Oh, yeah. That's fair.
But in terms of, which one... I also really like Deanne from Seven Deadly Sins, but that's just, because I'm a screwed up person. I don't know. I don't want to get into that on a public podcast.
I think you just did. But that's okay.
This podcast has been a little whack. Let's just put that on the reel.
So, William, do you want to give some of your answers?
All right. So, how am I feeling today?
It doesn't have to be exhaustive or anything. It's just, favorite anime girl.
Okay, so lately I really like Byleth, like a lot. Byleth is really cool.
Oh, gee, really? I hadn't noticed.
I like Byleth. I think Corin is still pretty cool.
I like Byleth.
I like Mithra. I like
What about Pyrrha?
Pyrrha's cool. I kind of like Mithra a little more because she's angry all the time.
Oh, can I add to my list?
You can.
Even though I don't think Ruby technically qualifies as an anime, I would like to add Yang Xiaolong.
It does because Reboot counts as a cartoon, and they're both 3D animations.
I literally just also talked about freaking Xenoblade, which
is a game.
If you want,
well, Xenoblade 2 is an anime.
It's an anime art style, so it works.
No, Xenoblade 2 is an anime.
Yeah. Actually, I think it's a visual
Xenoblade
novel.
1, not so much, but Xenoblade 2 is definitely an anime.
I also like Haru, and let's see. I also like Yoko from Gurren Lagann.
Okay. Here's a test of character. Do you like grown-up Yoko or young Yoko?
Well, grown up Yoko is the only one I can actually have, so I'm gonna have to pick that one.
Well, if I had to go with legal or illegal,
I do like young Yoko's costume. So if it was older Yoko and young Yoko's costume, I'd probably be a perfect 10. Pretty good. Pretty freaking great.
How young is young Oko?
I think 16 or 15.
Really? She doesn't look it.
Well,
yeah, I know.
The thing with that is supposed to be that she doesn't... the years are different or something, I think. So she could actually be closer to legal age, but that's just how old she thinks she is.
I see.
But they don't go into that in the show itself.
I also
More
like
of a deep
Camilla
lore thing.
from Fire Emblem Fates.
Fates.
Fire Emblem Fates.
Who?
Oh my god.
Camilla from Fire Emblem Fates.
Oh, you like the big booby girl. Okay.
Yeah.
Is her name pronounced Camilla? I've been pronouncing it Camilla. Whoops.
No, I think that's water bottles. It's like water bottles being knocked
Here's
over.
a
That's what
question.
it is.
Does it matter?
Does it matter?
Well, it depends if you're Spanish or not.
I don't know. It depends. Do you have a Twitter account and do you use it often?
That's actually a really good point. Yeah.
Some angry Fire Emblem Stan is going to find this video and then come attack me on Twitter about that I don't think it matters how you pronounce Camilla.
You know my favorite thing about discourse that I feel like internet people don't like realize? You can just kind of ignore it. Like, as long as you're not too popular, you actually don't have to respond to anything. And all of a sudden, all those death and like hate threats you get, they just don't mean anything. Like, it's just like a bunch of baseless and what's the word I'm trying to think of? Basically, these people that are I really can't think of the word, dude. They just really want to hurt you, right? They so badly want to hurt you. But if you just ignore them, it doesn't matter. I feel like a lot of people don't take advantage of that. They're like, oh, I have a platform to respond, so that means I have to respond to everything. That's not the way to go. You can't say hi to everyone you meet, and for the similar reason, you can't argue with everyone that brings up an argument on the internet, you know?
Have you seen ProZD's video about opinions on the internet?
I've seen all of ProZD's videos. Are you kidding me? Is this a fucking... Do you want to quiz me about, every word for word? Oh my god, have you seen his Peter Pan video?
No,
is this one of the charity questions?
It's the one where someone's watching a YouTube video and the person in the YouTube video says, I like this thing. And the person watching is like, I don't like that thing. I don't like that thing. How dare you like that thing? Nobody's allowed to like that thing. And then the YouTuber says, but I don't like this thing. And the commenter says, but I do like that thing. I do like that thing. How dare you not like this thing?
Yeah, that's basically how it goes, actually.
Basically.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Well,
I think I just
also
clipped
like
my
the girl
mic
from...
during all of that.
That's okay. I think I've been watching my audio
That's
the entire
for Techne to figure out.
Yay!
Pretty sure it's
I also
audio.
like the girl from Chivalry of the Failed Knight. She's a cutie.
Chivalry of the Failed Knight?
We're going to be here for like 20 minutes listening to Techne list off all of his waifus.
I also like...
William, gun to your head. Who's your top 20? I'm not saying... Okay. Or how about just who's 20 that you really like, and we can move on. I didn't mean to say top 20.
Oh man, I've already started it though.
How many are you at?
You're at like 10. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to start. I'm gonna just keep sprinkling.
Just do
them.
10
So we have a top 10. No, let's just leave it at a top 10.
Okay.
Yeah, I did
Philip,
say
what about
Haru,
you?
so I guess
You
I'm
didn't
fine
go
with
yet.
that.
It's a tie.
That's your question.
It's a tie between Palutena from Kid Icarus and An Takamaki from Persona 5.
I also like Gardevoir.
Yeah, you can tell this podcast is full of gamers because all of your quote unquote anime waifus are from video games.
If it was actually supposed to be an anime, it would be somebody from Fate. like Saber.
I also like
really?
Asuna.
Yeah, honestly. I haven't
I
seen
also
all that
like
many anime, to be fair.
Asuna from Sword Art Online.
Like, I haven't seen Sword Art Online, and that's been out for God knows how long.
Which one of the Konosuba girls is the best
maybe
one?
Somebody
That's
from My
the
Hero
hard
Academia.
question.
That's a good one. Or Soul Eater.
I like Ochako.
Soul Eater is Marie Mjolnir.
Next question.
Oh.
Hey, do you think...
Okay, you go, Phil.
I was just going to throw in real quick. Do you think if you had to rate all the girls in Soul Eater, you would have to include the Soul Eater not characters? Or do you think that you could just get a free pass?
I haven't seen Soul Eater not.
Seen.
It has good girls.
I know Skoyam has.
It's not. I don't know that it's necessarily interesting in terms of like actual story, but it's just got fun characters.
Mm-hmm. I would say I'd have to watch Soul Eater not before I could make that decision.
Well, if you want to see what it would be like if they turned Soul Eater into a slice of life anime starring lesbian girls,
that's what I've heard.
That's basically what Soul Eater not is, for better or for worse. Anyway, so Norkix, were you going to ask a question? Because we're ready for it, I think.
I mean, this is kind of topical. Do you think the internet has done more to bring people together or drive people apart?
Yes. So, do you think that if the internet didn't... Here's my counter question. Do you think that if the internet didn't exist, that people would get together more than they do on the internet? Like, do you think those people would stay alone, or do you think it would force them to go outside and meet other people and still be in groups?
So here's the thing with that, so our generation kind of grew up with cell phones, right?
Yeah.
And our parents were concerned with how much time we would spend on our phones talking to people instead of going out and meeting up and hanging out in person.
Right.
Just because to us, talking through texting was a lot easier and more efficient.
The word I like to use is convenient.
Convenient, yeah. And you don't have to use gas from your car to go and talk to someone if you were old enough to be driving.
Unless you're William.
There's no, your parents are probably paying for your cell phone, so you don't have to worry about, any of that. So, like, you can basically get the same experience of hanging out with people without any, like, need to do something, like go to a restaurant or go bowling or, go pay money to do an activity together for the sake of hanging out. So in a way, cell phone culture has and internet culture has made it so that when people do get together, at least to me, when people do get together, it kind of makes it more special to have the face-to-face interaction. So you're kind of right in that, yes. The answer to the question is yes, because people spend more time isolated now, especially with the current thing going on.
Right.
But just in general,
that must not.
But just in general, people spend a lot more time socializing from home than they do going out in public and hanging out with their friends. At least in my experience, and my experience is very limited because I'm an introvert.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, putting the demonetization disease aside, which I figured we would eventually mention it in this topic, but I feel like we should try to not, because it's a very extreme case.
So then get off the topic.
Well, I'm getting there, bud.
Get off the train. Get off.
Get off the train.
Yo, get out of the shot, man.
A couple things. First of all, I remember that Aaron Hansen, I think it was Aaron Hansen, said either on Game Grumps or at a convention, he said something very interesting, and I don't know why I remember it. I guess it's because of this topic. He said that when he talks in person now, he makes eye contact a lot less with people. And it's a habit because he's used to Skyping people and talking to them that way, where he doesn't have to look at a camera or anything. He doesn't have to look at the person's face. And that is specifically a sort of introvert quality. That's not necessarily that the internet does to you. It's just something that you will realize because I remember when my brother and I were traveling, we one time ate at a Steak and Shake, and we had this female server, and my brother is very, shall we say, psychology and sociology oriented. He loves to observe people and like figure out what the heck is going on, what makes them tick and stuff. Like observe, people watch, and I just wanted to solve my Rubik's Cube. So when she came to order, I was solving Rubik's Cube with one hand while looking at the menu with the other. Not gonna lie to you, I really liked Rubik's Cube, so I was kind of ordering while looking at her not that much, whereas he made eye contact with her pretty much the whole time, just to be respectful and confident and stuff like that, charismatic, and so that didn't really matter until later when we went to pay. Actually, no, I think it did matter. Because as she kept coming back, he noticed that she kept looking at me for long periods of time and him for short periods of time. And she even did that when we paid. And he deduced that it was probably because I didn't look at her much to begin with. And she didn't like being looked at for long periods of time because, she didn't want to be judged or whatever. So basically, she was at least somewhat of the introverted type. And she just felt more comfortable around me because of my body language. I want to point this out because it just goes to show that even in the modern society, being introverted or extroverted, there is no, better or worse of either one. And the internet culture and social media culture just it really emphasizes whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, but it also closes the gap. So I don't really think that they're a bad thing as long as people aren't overexposed to them.
That's a good take. I like that.
That being said, people are definitely overexposed to them, and that has resulted in a lot of, online drama, online panic, real life drama. And I won't go into too much detail, but I think you can pretty much deduce based on like any event that happens any week of Twitter.
It's time for my opinions. Ba-bum bum bum bum.
It's time for William's opinions.
Who wants to talk about Nazis?
I do.
Oh God!
I do. I'm an all right. Ha.
So. All right. So. I think the internet is really nice and it's great, and technology is a wonderful tool. However, unfortunately, we aren't really regulating it correctly, and when we try to regulate it, it's in the wrong ways. Like, for instance, net neutrality was a thing that we tried to do, but that was just for getting money and monetary purposes. What we should be probably focusing on is the fact that people are sending death threats over the internet, and we don't really care about that as much.
Death threats?
We don't take that as a serious.
Death threats.
Yeah,
You're worried
people
about
get death threats on the internet.
There's a black market. People are selling people to other people, and you're worried about death threats.
Okay, well, I mean, you bring up the other point, but point is that we don't regulate that type of thing as much as we probably should.
No, absolutely not.
So, I mean, as much as technology is great, but I don't really know the actual percentages or numbers of what's going on of death threats, actual murders, and the whole black market, and also terrorism, straight up terrorism, like people deleting websites because they don't suit their agenda. So, that type of thing. I've been also watching a bunch of videos by Innuendo Studios called The Study of the Alt-Right. So, ding, 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 there's the dinger, that's what I've been talking about. So I've been studying that and thinking about that for a little while. Philip, I also sent you a video. Did you actually get to watch it?
Nope, never did, to be honest. I haven't had time.
Okay. Because I was going to ask your opinion on it, so we can probably discuss that as a group of what we think about it.
But as far as I know, based on some basic skimming of the video, because I figured you'd talk about it in the podcast, so I tried to get what information I could. I'm guessing it talks about the alt-right sort of encouragement that goes on through the internet. Yeah. And sort of like people pushing alt-right and basically very bad extremist radical ideas. Right?
Yeah.
And sort of like normalizing them, like saying, this is fine, this is normal, in fact, this is encouraged and good, when in fact it's not. Obviously that's bad. Also, it happens all the time, and it can't be stopped. and it won't be stopped because you would need to infringe upon freedom of speech. I do, however, think that, obviously the terrorism and like whether it be literal or cyber, as well as, like I said, illegal transactions and let me ask you guys a question. If we could delete all porn on the internet, I'm not saying should we, I'm saying would we? If we had the option to just be like, all porn is now illegal. The business is dead, the practice is dead, goodbye, all porn sites, all porn everywhere, it's gone.
That's a question.
Would we?
Now, here's the thing.
So then you then open up a porn black market.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue. That's the weird thing about the internet, is that it's not like any other service or communication or basically any kind of utility. It's very unique. There's just all this ideas and information gathered in one place. You can't manage it if you try to manage it to a certain degree, people will be like, but my rights. And then they'll go to another country, or they'll at least threaten to. So it's kind of weird. I'm not really sure what should be done about the current state of the internet. I don't think it's obviously perfect. I don't even think it's close. It does a lot of good things, and there's also a ton of really bad things that should not be there at all and that we don't take any action against for some reason. But I think this is a good question, William, that I'm kind of glad that you're bringing this to the podcast for us to discuss it, because it's definitely good to raise awareness for this kind of thing.
Yeah, especially since the political climate is kind of changing a bunch. A lot of things are being aware because of the bad thing that's happening around, the bad bat juice, if you will, that's been spread around. Like, a lot of people on like Facebook, Twitter, and all the soapbox websites are like shouting, this is the current system that we have right now, and it's terrible, and late game capitalism is not really meant for the needs of the people and such. Like, people are screaming socialism bails out capitalism in dark times, all that fun stuff. And actually, to completely tangent and actually go back to that question you asked earlier of what happens if we black market porn, well, it depends of what what society really thinks of porn. Like, if we think of it as necessary, then it's probably going to be a prohibition type of thing where people really will want it anyway, so they'll have to go against the law.
Basically,
or if we all deem it's illegal, then we kick it out, then it's fine. And it goes underground for people that really, really are sketchy. I cut you off, Norkix. What did you want to say?
Basically, all of the things that so when prohibition happened, speakeasies opened up because people still wanted alcohol. If we were to ban the guns, you'd just be fueling the black market weapons. That's a ladybug in my carpet.
Hello.
That's good luck.
So it's the same thing. If we were to ban all of the porn, there would still be porn, and you would still be able to find porn on the internet. It would just be, more difficult to find, and it would not exactly be ethical or legal to do it.
It depends if it's... I think what really matters is if it depends if it's ethical or legal, because if it's not ethical, then we should probably try to stop it, but if it is proven ethical or non-ethical... Like, if it's proven ethical to have porn because we need that release of sexuality, and that's a progressive thing, then we could keep it.
Yeah, but William, can I just quickly point out that Tumblr and Facebook are in current states where porn is not allowed on either of those sites at all, and that is enforced. That is something...
They still find their way, by the way.
Yeah. You want to know why? Because that's just the nature of people. They want their stuff.
People are horny.
Yeah, well... That's
human nature is that people are horny and violent. So here's my take on this.
Okay.
The fact that we have porn and the fact that we have movies where the fact that we have violent movies and violent video games are kind of releases, and I think they're healthy releases for those behaviors so that society can function a little bit more normally. Obviously, there are the exceptions to the rule, the kids or the adults who think that committing violent acts in video games excuses it in real life or justifies it, or, you know, they're influenced by it. Those cases exist, but they're exceptions to the rule. And it's the same thing. Like, you can tell, like, if you go on someone's Twitter timeline and it's like a mile of big titty anime girls, that person is probably not fun to be around in real life. Probably not. Again, there are exceptions to every rule.
There's actually a really good PM player, a Super Smash Brothers Project Melee player. He's like one of the best Donkey Kongs in the entire world, still is to this day. And his Twitter, I mean, oh my God, don't go on there unless you're 18, at least. Like, I remember one time, he actually tweeted happy birthday to one of my friends, and it was accompanied by a very, very fun picture. And I think his mom was in the room at the time when he was checking his Twitter. So he was like, oh, shit.
Oh, joy.
It was really funny.
But do you guys understand what I'm saying? Like, the fact that we have violence and porn in media kind of helps to keep it out of our interactions with people in meat space.
Well, if that's true, and also I think it's becoming ever increasingly relevant and, you know, present in modern day media, maybe porn isn't all that bad. Maybe I should be focusing on other things, other topics like child porn and
yes,
you know,
because porn is usually between two or more, depending on what you're watching, consenting adults,
right?
Whereas child porn is unethical in pretty much every way that you look at it.
And I think that's an example of something that pretty much everybody wants to go away. Like, sure, there are a very, very, very small amount of people that either wish to allow it or actively seek it out. And we shun those people as immoral and gross. And I think, you know, honestly, the three of us would probably fit into that category of that is a no-no. But and if either of you are not like that, I'll kill you both.
Continuing the train of thought and kind of digging myself a hole here, using my argument that having those things in the media we consume prevents it from overlapping into our real lives, do you think that it's justified to have child porn existing for the pedophiles so that they don't actually go out and try to touch kids in real life?
Not real child porn. That's obviously not good.
Obviously.
But if we're talking about fictional works like fan fiction, anime and animations, whatever, stuff like that, sure. Maybe we could police it somehow, contain it in a certain way into one or a few places. That way, people, they could get their yayas out, and that would be that. But I think that isn't the issue. Is that most cases are not that. Most cases that people have an issue with, and most cases that are prevalent, are real, you know, children molesters, which is it's very, 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 very sad. I don't like that at all.
It's terrible.
So here's my question, William.
If we could
actually go ahead, Norkix. You should finish your thought real quick.
No, it's like I said, kind of digging myself a hole here. I disagree with child porn, just for the sake of the record.
Okay.
No, it's called being devil's advocate. You're fine.
He does have a point, actually. Well, if you won't continue, then I will go ahead and ask William, since we've been kind of milking his topic for the sake of discussing it, I suppose. Do you have an answer or an idea of how we can attack these problems? Because it's clear that things are bad. These things should not be here. The internet is a weird place. It does have some bad aspects to it. Do you have any idea how we can better enforce it, protect it, cleanse it?
Well, for one, we try. If we say that we don't try because there is evil in the world, then that's a problem.
We're also liars because people do try, let's be honest.
Yeah. So that's the first step. The second step is that I don't really truly know, because I'm not exactly the internet scientist that some people can be. Like, I don't know much about networking, IPs, and such. But what you could do is pretty much take tactics and be a chaotic good and, shut down websites of terrorism and probably go IRL to where servers are located and not destroy them, but I guess I just take them offline. And then apply maybe some laws of such of if let's see. Well, okay, the next point I have to make up is kind of dependent of how our government isn't super stable right now. So it's a kind of a problem to start actual laws going, because I'm pretty sure if we start enabling some laws of let's see, restrictive internet, I'm pretty sure that's going to be abused very quickly in our current climate. In our current climate, if our system was if we fix our system, then I could be more calmly, safely say that we can control the internet a little better. One of the few things that we could do is actually loosen the restrictions of copyright, because that's kind of keeping creators down, especially since I've made that point several times back in the day, is that most artists, like musicians back in the day of the 70s, started covers and shit. So that'd be one thing you could do for the internet scene that specifically is booming. Another thing besides just launching down servers, I would say, is if our government was truly democratic and we could vote on what we feel like shouldn't be allowed on the internet, then we could say to ourselves, okay, we don't want to see child porn. So then we would start enforcing a little bit more restrictions of that sort of thing. Because, that's not allowed. That's not allowed in our society. Like I said, the only problem is right now is that I'm not exactly an internet scientician man, and B, our current political climate is going to explode. So I don't really have the exact answer for it right now. I just know we gotta try.
Our current political climate will explode?
Yeah, I'm very much of the opinion that the society we have right now is either going to have to change or will tear itself apart by the end of this century. Because we're either going to run out of resources, or there's going to be some kind of revolution that's going to absolutely tear the world apart, and it's not going to be good for anyone.
Well, I'm
a pessimist.
I was going to say, I'm glad I'm an optimist, because you got pessimist Megatron over here.
I'm much more concerned about resources and the impact that running out of resources will have on society than I am about the social part of society, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I feel like, especially after what's been going on, at least in the US recently, something's going to change pretty soon. Something's got to give. I don't know what I'm saying anymore.
I kind of understand what you're saying. You're saying that, we're currently in sort of
we're reaching a breaking point. Tension between both sides. I don't want to point fingers, because I think both sides are doing things that are bad. But there's a lot of tension.
Right. And this is a crisis that we're in, right?
Right. And the crisis is bringing out the flaws in the system, and it's escalating the tension between the two sides. And people in the center don't have it any better. People in the center are getting attacked for not taking a side, or for believing certain things that, it used to be that the whole point was to hold the middle ground in US, and then have certain opinions on certain things, and then whatever the majority thought would be what the law would be the law that got made. If that makes, I'm running out of juice here because we've been at this for 2 hours. But yeah, like the way that things were explained when they were teaching us U.S. history is that the whole idea was to compromise, and that nobody got exactly what they wanted, but we got something that would benefit everyone as a whole, as opposed to a specific subset of people.
Right. That is the way that the United States government was made, and that is the way that it was meant to be used.
It was founded on compromise, and we have now grown so far apart. The two sides are so far apart now that compromise is nearly impossible.
Also true. Basically, if there's a majority of one party in the White House or whatever, then nothing gets done other than their agenda. And if there's an equal number of the two parties, then nothing really gets done because, one person will propose an idea and the other will shoot it down and vice versa.
Right. And the problem that I have is that people in the center, who are the people that the system was made for, are being attacked for being in the center and not picking a side. Which the people in the center are probably the ones who are most willing to compromise to get something that benefits everyone. And they're being silenced and attacked for that perspective, which I think is a big problem.
But isn't that kind of different because you have to make compromises with yourself with what ideology you want to help and follow through with? In SMT specifically, there are endings where you never actually get specifically what you want because you have to deal with like a lock or a chaos ending, and usually the neutral ending makes it all irrelevant. But point is that between those two endings, you have to decide. You have to make compromises within yourself that, well, the human race is now free, but so is everyone and every demon. So now chaos rules the land, or there are no more demons, but now no one will evolve ever, which is the law part of it.
Well, there's two issues with that. One, this is not a video game. I mean that as a video gamer and as a nerd and as an introvert and as a fantasy dreamer, whatever. Reality is very different from, that kind of world, because what happens here is what happens here, and what happens in the game or whatever is typically a reflection of or a few people, which is to say the writer or the designer or the creator or whatever of the game. Whereas here, it's real life is a reflection of everybody, every single idea, ideology, action, and event crashing into each other and creating the present, as well as paving the way to the past and the future.
But if it's everyone's ideas, then it's not going to cater directly towards your idea specifically.
Well, that's why the idea of a democracy was so favorable, and that's why early on it worked pretty well. The issue, I think, that most people have nowadays is that it doesn't really feel like a democracy anymore. And I think that's kind of what Norkix might be pointing towards as well.
Another thing that I think contributed to that is that when the system of government we have right now, the two-party system, was created, the country was much, much smaller. And so running the same system of government, but on a scale 5 or 6 times larger than it was conceived for, is running into problems.
Oh, yeah. So, hey, Norkix, you know how Minecraft is made in Java?
Sure.
Java, basically, from what I can tell from talking to programmers, this might not be true, but I'm pretty sure it is. Minecraft is made kind of non-optimally, non-efficiently, because it's made in Java. I think it was made in Java because then it would be easier to mod and to update. But I think Minecraft would be less of a resource hog and function better if it was transferred to another programming language or programming engine, rather. And but guess what? Minecraft's still in Java, and it's been about almost 20 years. No, wait, that's not
Minecraft
true.
has not been around for 20 years.
That's not true. When was Minecraft? 2012?
2010, I'm pretty sure.
2010? Okay, so it's been around for a decade. The point is, it's a really... Sorry, slip of the tongue. The point is, it's been around for a really long time, and it's still in Java. And it's for the same reason. It's so that it can be easier to update and mod, because that's two of the things that people play Minecraft for, is mod it and update it, and now they can still do it easily 10 years after the fact. The United States government's kind of like that. You know.
But Philip, life isn't a video game.
Well, I think my analogy is better than yours.
Well, I do think it's a pretty good analogy, because both things were kind of future-proofed. Like they really thought about it when they were what's the word?
Carving it out?
When they were coming up with how the two-party system would run, and coming up with the Constitution, they wanted to make sure that things could be changed as needed. And we have legislation for that, and that's why legislation exists. So that we can make new laws and make new amendments to the Constitution and, all that stuff. Same thing with your Minecraft analogy. Minecraft was, as you said, written in Java to make it future-proof, so that as things were found or as new ideas for gameplay were thought of, they could be implemented easily. So I think it's a good analogy, actually.
But the issue with both of those is that time catches up to both.
Exactly. So now things have gotten beyond the scale of the future-proofing. And something either needs to give or needs to be rethought from the ground up.
And the reason this is so hard to talk about, especially when actually considering, changing things, is Minecraft's been around for 10 years. And I really if you stopped it being in Java, they would probably increase the cap for, say, a maximum item being held in your hand from 64 to maybe 999 or 1,000 or 200. Something bigger than 64.
255.
64 is used because it's like a multiple number in Java or something. It works in Java, so they use it in the game. Stuff like that is prevalent in Minecraft's design. And similarly, there's things that are prevalent in our modern society and culture because of the Constitution and because of the way our country has been founded for about 240 years. So if I don't want to change Minecraft after 10 years, I probably don't want to change my country after 240. And I've talked to William about this a lot, how in the United States, traditionalism is very strong, right? We love to be patriotic. We love to support the ideas that have been around for a while because it is American. It is us, and it represents us. And we're very proud of our heritage and whatnot, and us striking out in this country and stuff like that. Up to today, we're still patriotic. We still like to support everything to our states and our fucking sports teams, but it kind of gets in the way of change a lot. And I think that is why when we talk about these, usually amounts to talk and not much change. Just because politicians, people with power and influence, they typically like that traditionalism. They don't want things to change. And they know that other people are scared about it too. And so not much gets done. And that's why when you say things need to change, I believe you. And I think that you're correct, and they eventually will. The question is when. Because we've been saying that things need to be changed for decades, and they haven't. Yeah. They've been cyclical, going back and forth between Republican has power, Democrats have power, Republicans and Democrats have equal power, et cetera, et cetera. Things kind of get done, then they don't. Things kind of get done, then they don't. Things kind of get done. Things do get done, but then they get done the other way, and neither thing really gets done. It's sad. That's our current state of affairs in America. It's sad.
Well, then how do we fix it?
Well,
that is the big question.
My dad has talked
That's
about
up to people with more aspirations than we in this chat probably have.
Actually, you know what? I think that's a great idea. That's a great point.
I say that perhaps the massive amount of people that aren't voting vote, and that's where we take a good start.
That's an excellent start. Yes, please vote.
Or perhaps like we have more actual awareness of what's happening in politics. But here's the thing: no one is super good at following the news. I think I've noticed that with like literally everyone. No one truly follows like what happens in politics, and I only started doing this recently too.
The problem with the news is that these days, at least, it's sort of the same thing as the political climate. Everything is either really left or really right, and so the facts on both sides are twisted to support, I hate this word, but to support the agenda of whichever side. And no one's just telling it like it is. The biggest offender, obviously, I think, is Fox, because they always have to give their opinion. And they're always like, oh, I know we're a news station, but we have to give the opinion.
CNN and NBC also do this. Specifically.
CNN is really bad about it as well. But I think Fox is the biggest offender just because I feel like they have the biggest audience. Not specifically calling them out because they're right wing, but like,
you know what's funny? Not CNN. Fox News actually gave like Bernie Sanders like the fairest platform to speak with people than literally any other media outlet. It's crazy. Fox News did that. And you know what? Bernie was actually pretty fair for both of them. Like, he's like, all right, I can't say that on this station. Like, they made jokes about it. It was amazing. Well, it was such a civil thing.
Fox kind of has a thing where they will bring on liberals and just like have them talk, and then they'll set them up with, so like there are a ton of interviews with Jon Stewart and like Bill O'Reilly, or Jon Stewart and Tucker Carlson, and those are some of the most fascinating interviews because they do let the people that they bring on speak their minds, and then, you know, whoever the spokesperson is like refutes everything or argues the points in favor of the right wing. But I mentioned Jon Stewart specifically because I think he does it the best. You can really understand the points that he's trying to make, and he makes excellent examples when they're talking about things like privilege or systemic racism, or, you know, healthcare, or whatever the issue is that Fox is trying to talk about. Jon Stewart will he listens to what they're saying, and then he explains his side of it and really tries to make them understand, as opposed to just yelling at them about how he's right. If that makes sense.
I feel like that's a really good way of describing modern politicians and modern political debates, which is more like, you know, political arguments.
Well, that's something that I think Twitter has contributed to, because on Twitter you're limited in how much you can say, so people have to very much consolidate their points, which comes off resulting in people coming off as being curt and rude and blunt. Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is why Tumblr was the better website, despite the fact that like a lot of the left wing, extreme left would sit there. There was a lot of also moderates that were also there too. So
really, I didn't see any moderates. I actually did not see anybody other than leftists. For better or for worse, Tumblr seems like a very leftist social media platform.
But it was pretty great to be there.
It's still a good website. So really fucking good.
All right. So we've
been
here for 2 hours now, and I'm getting really hungry, and I want to make dinner.
Do you have any more questions?
I do not. I'm out of questions.
William, do you have any more questions?
It's time
for the lightning
round. Here we go. What is your favorite animal?
Norkix.
Oh God. I think mice are really cute.
Okay. We already answered this. Mine's penguin. What's yours, William?
Man, I love birds.
All right. Next question.
All right. At what point does the atmosphere become space?
All right, William, you answer this first.
Oh, there's an official answer to this. Dang it.
Yeah. But do you ever have those moments where you look up at the sky, you're like, wow, I could be in space right now just from sitting on the Earth. I just look up and you just see the blue and all like the fucking oxygen layers, and you're like, I feel like I am space right now, but you're technically not because there's several layers that keep you away from that. Mm-hmm. I feel that sometimes, especially when I would play Mario Galaxy and you see like the skyboxes for that game.
Mm.
Fair enough.
I believe the scientific answer to this question is at 10 miles is when it officially becomes space.
10 miles up?
10 miles up, yes. But I would personally say it becomes space at the level where you can see the stars from like during what should be the day.
Oh, that's interesting.
There's a point where you get out of where the sun's light filtering through the atmosphere isn't opaque anymore, and you can see the darkness with all the stars. And I would say for me personally, that's where space starts.
So according to Norkix, the North Pole is in space. Pretty cool.
What?
Yeah, because it's always night there. Idiot.
It's not always night there. There is a
I'm just kidding.
I'm
just kidding. I know. I'm sorry. I just couldn't resist.
You make me angry, Phil.
Oh, Phil, you make me angry, Phil. It's funny. I was actually thinking kind of in a Mario Galaxy, but also in a space movie that I saw recently, but I can't remember the name of. Basically, I think it becomes space when you were no longer pulled down to Earth by Earth's gravitational pull, and instead you'd float away from the atmosphere. Next question,
okay.
William.
So
that's the last question I got.
All right. What were you going to say, Norkix?
That would be really far away, is all I'm saying. Because gravity is bigger than you think. Like
I know.
The moon,
I took physics class. I know that everything has a gravitational pull. The moon and the Earth have actually really strong gravitational pulls, and it would take a huge amount of force, like a fucking rocket, for example, to get out of Earth's orbit, or not orbit, whatever, pull. But I'm just saying, if that was a possibility for you to leave Earth's atmosphere and for you to pass into this invisible barrier of, now I'm going to get pulled in by the moon or something, that would be for me being in space, because you're no longer bound by a satellite. Or body. Right. And that's all, folks. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Come back to the next podcast, and it'll be 4 hours long, I bet.
Don't forget to vote, dear God.
If you can, get out of your fucking house.
Social distance, wear a mask.
Yep.
Wear a mask.
Make sure you're 6 feet apart of the
wear
gloves.
If you don't have gloves, open doors with your sleeves.
Also, please don't consider being an extremist on either side of the spectrum. Thank you.
Yes.
Basically
be open-minded.
Trans rights.
Basically be open-minded.
With it said that you shouldn't go too much towards either side. Trans rights.
Trans rights.
Also, I want to point out, don't respect people because they are transsexual, and don't respect people because they're black. Respect people because they're people, and support the fuck out of everybody. And if somebody doesn't support people that are transsexual or black, those are the people you need to look down upon.
Exactly.
Fuck them. So just because you don't say trans rights doesn't make you a bad person. It's just, be kind. Trans rights.
Vote.
All right, should we end it there?
Yeah,
follow Norkix at Norkix. Follow Techni Arcade at Techni Arcade.
It's at Norkix with 2 X's because the person who has at Norkix is they made their account in 2010 and never tweeted once and haven't done anything.
Right. Follow at Norkix and follow at Techni Arcade.
Well, it's at Norkix.
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 Like Kingdom Hearts. All right, well, Libracadeum Lounge is available thanks to Patreons and people like you that support our show. If you like what we do, please consider subscribing to us and also our Twitter affiliates that come on the show every day until they don't, and when it's just back to me and Phil again. But anyway, support them. Support me on Patreon so I can pay them, because we make no money right now. Dated the video. What was that, Norkix?
We need like some NPR music for this part of the video.
See, Lee suggested about doing an intro, like a bass twang, and I was like,
a lot of podcasts do have some sort of intro. So.
We could work on that. We'll have to craft that. We're gonna have to go with PR and ask them, even though I am PR.
We need an outro too.
Anyway, bye everyone. Have a good day.